Hey, welcome guys. Today we're going to be weathering our Airfix, the Me410A, Messerschmitt. Always had difficulty saying that. We got it clear coated after a decal application and we are ready to weather. So you are looking obviously at the final product. What we will be doing here is some oil dot filters, some panel line wash, some different streaking effects, some exhaust streaking there, and some chipping. So generally, what I like to do, or I'll do it 95% of the time, is I start with like a panel line wash. But we're going to do it a little bit differently this time. And part of that is if you followed the painting video or just any of the videos on this kit, even where you're looking right now, it was very purple. I think it was the RLM 75. I kind of forget at this point, but it's what the kit called for. I used the Ammo by MIG paints, and it still looks cool. It's kind of purple. So I wanted to use the oil dot effect to try to knock it down a little bit and to try to blend those colors together, which the weathering process in general will do, but we're going to try it with oils. I've experimented, I've used this before, and kind of wanted to try it on aircraft because I've never used it on aircraft. So essentially the idea is you're just going to take a bunch of different oil colors, those MIG oil washers, dot it all over, and with gravity we're going to wet our brush with enamel thinner, and we're going to wipe it down in that gravitational direction, right, as it's going to flow over the wing. And what this is going to do is, I called it a filter earlier, is it's going to take like 90% of that paint away. I end up taking off a little bit too much of it, I think, to start here, but think like whites, where like I put whites on the purple because I wanted to kind of dull that down. I put them on the green as well, but then putting some greens over the green, that like olive green, to try to kind of change that green tone in different areas. So you're getting really dulling down, blending of colors, highlighting different colors, and changing the tones kind of all in one. So as you can see, I did it once. When you do this, I would advise taking like a paintbrush and touching the oil filter and then using that to dot. In my kind of trials of this, I did have some success, but if you use the oil brusher as is, it puts a lot of oil paint on there, and especially as you can see, like the whites, the lighter the color, they tend to wipe away a little bit less, and they kind of tend to spread out. That's why if you've heard my other videos, I don't like the dust oil wash. That one really spreads out. But let it dry for like 24 hours. Oil paints are very, very slow to dry. Try to do all of the dots as quickly as you can. If you don't think you can get to both wings quickly, do one wing at a time, because the dots will leave a little bit of a dot residue if you let them sit too long. But as you can see, again, just wiping that down. The second round we used just like white and black, trying to kind of dull down the tone of these paints, as well as adding those streaking effects. And then on the underside, I really just went with white, black, and then that brown color is it's like Starship Filth, I think is what it's called. It's just a general grime color. You could use anything like a brown like that. Generally, keep wiping down until it starts to turn muddy. You want to see the colors wiping down. You don't want to see the blend of colors. When I say muddy, I mean the overall blend of colors. As long as you see the individual colors wiping down, then you're doing it correctly. As soon as it turns muddy, blot off your brush and kind of restart. Next up, once we got that second layer of oils down, I was happy. It kind of blended it and dulled it down a little bit. Added some of that streaking filter. Next up, we're going to do our panel line wash. As I've done many times before, applied the black within all of the kind of seams, panel lines, recessed areas. And instead of using a brush, just using a Q-tip here, even more than on a tank, for whatever reason, the Q-tip works perfect on aircraft. It doesn't lunge into the panel lines, it just combs right over them. So it leaves all that wash where we want it, right? This being a 172 kit, as you can see here, I am like brushing it a little bit. Generally, when you apply a wash, you get that. Oh man, I'm losing the phrase. You get that action where it just kind of flows, right? This kit, after brush painting, we didn't have that as much, so we're kind of brushing the wash on a little bit. There's also a lot of little nooks and crannies that that's not going to get into. So do what you can to get that wash where you need it. It's very, very easy to remove. And then again, let that dry. Let that pigment fully set up before you wipe it away and after you wipe it away. Next up, we are going to do some chipping effects. Now, I kind of tried this with a couple different colors at first. I ended up going with like the chrome. I will say, one, I think I over chipped a little bit, although it's your model. You can do what you want. Personally, I wish I did maybe 60 to 70% of the chips. That I did. I will say the metallic color, when it's in your workstation, you'll turn the plane one way and you can see all the chips, and you'll turn it the other way and you can't see any. So, little bit of a lesson learned there. Actually, I'd never chipped an aircraft before. And generally with a tank, you're chipping in like a reddish brown color. With aircraft, you're going to be chipping with a metallic color. So, a little bit of a lesson learned there, and something to watch out for if this is something that you're going to do, is that paint kind of disappears a little bit when you turn the model a different way under your light. So all of a sudden you don't think the brush is putting anything down, but it is. Gonna do some chipping around the propeller as well. This, I think, ends up looking really, really awesome. Not only are propellers kind of plain and generally, don't get too much weathering, but it really added a cool beat up effect to it. Now, we're also going to do some on the kind of edges and things like that in the spirit of chipping. I don't think many tanks actually got chipped. I know we're painting a plane here, but planes especially, I don't think really had chipping effects. They were very well maintained, for at least from the research I've done, and were usually cleaned up after every single flight. So a lot of the weathering effects we're going to do on this is just because I felt like doing it. If you really want to make a realistic looking aircraft, probably err on the side of less weathering. But if you're making a model, chip away, right? There's nothing wrong with dressing it up and just making it look a little bit more interesting. I really wanted to chip this plane because I have a lot of planes that I have built, a lot of aircraft, and I hadn't chipped any. So I figured, why not? We'll go for it, right? These areas that, the pilot and crew and guys refueling and doing maintenance on the plane, the areas they would have stepped on are all great areas to chip. And by kind of grouping it up there and not in other areas, it does give the model, a little bit of difference in terms of paint and just like what's going on, which does look really, really cool. To get the exhaust streaks, I started with an oil wash. I knew the Tamiya, what's it, the Master Weathering Kit. I have like the soot color. I knew that would be a good product, but as you always want to do in weathering, you want to try to build up layers, and did a little bit of experimenting here. I wanted to get that layer of kind of black filth, that exhaust filth, down on the plane before we put that master weathering kit down. So really just treating this black color like it's a streaking effect. Worst case scenario, it's just going to dirty up your vehicle and make it look more interesting anyways. It is a little bit difficult to get into some of these areas with that weathering kit from Tamiya. So the oil wash did help kind of fill in those cracks, which I think ultimately was a good decision. And then we'll just put some on the propeller, like leaking grease or grime or oil or whatever. So once you have that, again, we're taking a pretty good amount of thinner on our brush this time and just brushing it in that gravitational direction. Try to make sure that, as you can see, I'm trying to make sure it's not getting too spread out, but also that it's not too thick. You can always go back and add. It's harder to take away, especially once oils and enamels have dried. It's really hard to take them away, especially oils, that is. So always leave room to add. Better off doing things in small stages. At this point, I wasn't sure how well the oils were going to work. And I was thinking maybe I don't need the weathering kit at all. And to be honest, if you wanted a more subtle effect, you could have just left it here. You see we have those black streaks. Of course, it's drying. And you could spread it out a little bit more, but that's how we started. The Tamiya Master Weathering Kits, there's a couple different kind of varieties, obviously in color, but also in how they actually work. So the green and it's like green, yellow, and gray is actually more of a dry brushing type, like pigment. This is a little bit different. This is removable. This like soot color and the rust, and I think there was sand in there as well. It comes with basically a miniature makeup brush, and then this is just one that I bought. This is just a Tamiya makeup, or not makeup brush, but weathering brush that essentially is just a larger handheld version of what comes in the master weathering kit. So we're going to do that soot effect on the top and the bottom of the wings, as well as try to do a really light layer where those machine guns are, like a little bit of gunpowder dust, I guess. Again, I don't know how real some of this is, but it looks cool on the model, so we did it, right? With that weathering sponge brush, I guess we'll call it, you can remove this. So I think I went too heavy with it the first time. Flip that thing over, and you can remove anything that's on there. It is not permanently on there. And I will say, with just all of the Tamiya Master weathering kits in general, if you want it to stay, do not, and I don't clear coat at the end of weathering anyways, but do not put clear coat over it. Your clear coat will pretty much take all of it off. But there you have it. That's what it looks like at the end. And now I'm just, this is me cleaning it up. It is very subtle when you go to clean it up. So you have to work at it a little bit, but eventually that will all come off if you kept wiping it. So it's a good idea to kind of blur it and like dull it down a little bit, I think, rather than have it being so stark like it is up here on the top. But again, a little bit of a learning process here. I hadn't really done that before, but that's it. Pretty simple on the weathering process. If you guys enjoyed this, enjoyed the other build painting videos, anything like that, please like and subscribe. As I say that, I lied. I am adding some more Starship filth at the end here. So that is not just it, but it is more or less it. I just felt like I wanted a little bit of kind of that muddy color, you know, getting in there, just to add a little bit more. I don't know what uh, those little decals are for. I just assumed some sort of oil or gas or liquid is going to go into them, and therefore we would put some streaking grime in, or starship filth, whatever it's called, on there. But that will be it once we wipe this away. That is how we're going to finish this kit. So there you have it. Again, please like and subscribe. If you made it this far, I appreciate you watching, and we will leave you with the model kit for the last like minute or two here, and I hope you enjoyed it.